No.
Hello, guys and gals, me Mac here, and we got a doozy
It's me, Marsuves.
to go through today. So Mutahar from SomeOrdinaryGamers has been called
The curse of the Sonotube medallion. Like, hold on, let me grab that. Let me grab this, chuck it into Twitch real quick. Boom, boom, boom. Alright, let go.
out for being a fake engineer and lying about his supposedly totally real day jobs for the past 14 years or so. This
So if it's been on YouTube 14 years, like I was saying when we were watching the other video, like, sure he's jumping ship early, but he's been around for a while, so it's obviously working.
drama really kicked off due to a video made by another YouTuber called Nicandros, who went through and found all the conflicting Mutahar statements about his education, experience, and work. If you want to see all the specific
This is what I thought the other video was going to be. So this is all we actually wanna cover.
callouts, I'll have his video linked in the description and in the pinned comment. What we're going to do in this video is go over some more of the engineer details and technical claims made by Mutahar a bit more.
Let's fucking go.
Let's kick things off with what kind of engineer Mutahar is.
I'm a
Cybersecurity, I think he said.
computer engineer. I'm a computer engineer.
Computer engineer.
I'm a computer engineer.
I'm a
I sit
YouTuber.
down
Why are
and
you
I
asking me?
code.
And I'm just like a computer engineer by default.
Like I'm a computer engineer. I'm a computer engineer. You want to talk about cyber warfare? I'm a computer engineer by trade. I'm a
By trade. I mean, I would say I'm a software engineer by trade, even though like I'm also from a country like Canada, where we have like the body. There is a engineering body that you need to be registered with and certified with to actually call yourself an engineer. But like my last 3 job titles were senior engineer. My next one will probably also include engineer. I got an email from a recruiter that was like, environmental engineer. And I was like, what the fuck is this? Because like the university that I went to had some specializations for like environmental engineering, like actual environmental green shit engineering. And I'm like, that's just not applicable to me. Why the fuck are you sending me this? And it was just DevOps. It was just a DevOps role.
computer engineer. I'm a computer engineer. I'm a computer engineer.
So just quickly, like there is a difference. Even like if you went above board, got all the certified, I actually don't know if like computer engineers, because I know like the software engineering, which is like programming, and then there is actual computer engineering as a like subset of that. Like I'd say it's comp sci specialization. I don't know if they can call themselves engineers either, because I briefly I'm not able to call myself an engineer legally. I'm not an engineer. I'm not qualified to be an engineer. But I did study engineering, electrical engineering specifically, and we did not have an offering that was like computer engineer. I probably did study the closest thing, which was electrical engineering with a specialization in industrial computer systems. But even then, if I had gone through and was registered with our engineering body in the country that I'm in, I wouldn't say computer engineer. I'd probably say electrical engineer. Which, if anyone asks like what I studied, and I didn't graduate, I did defer, and I will probably go back and graduate at some point in the future, but right now it's not an option. I'd probably say electrical engineer, not computer engineer.
I'm a computer engineer.
Although I think that is different. I think it's much more common to say like computer engineer in America, which he isn't from either. So I'm really not sure where it lands up.
Computer engineer. I'm a video engineer now.
Speaking out of an engineer, like
Also, yeah, video engineer, like what is it? Audio engineer. They are titles that you can have as a job, but aren't recognized as engineer. I don't actually know about video engineer, but audio engineer is 100%.
but as an engineer, yeah, I'm gonna call him an idiot because he does do idiotic statements.
Trust me, I'm an engineer.
This is why, as a cybersecurity engineer, as somebody
Yeah, like I vaguely remember hearing him say that he's like a cybersecurity specialist, which you probably have engineer in your title, even though you can't legally call yourself an engineer. That's all it is.
Who is a computer, engineer, somebody who understands computer code, for instance, hearing Elon talk about computers and any
Just quickly on that, as someone that I actually don't know, like he might have more experience than me just by age, although I do have like 10 years-ish, probably 10, 11 years professional experience. A lot of what Musk is saying about Twitter was technically, like, it makes sense. I don't know, I've never seen Twitter's code, or X as formerly referred to as, formerly known by Twitter. Especially some of the batch messaging protocols that Elon was posting about. Like that all made sense. Like that would make sense. But people were like crashing out because some of the engineers that were fired were like, no, he doesn't understand it. And then his tweets were like, yeah, the messaging protocol, messaging system that we're using could be optimized in this way, and that way. How it's the search algorithms for these messages isn't optimized correctly. We're going to optimize it. And like that made sense. Although he did make a couple of stupid tweets, I will say that outright. But most of what Musk seemed to be saying, and there were some funny fuck ups as well from that. Like he fired some guy that wrote some proprietary, I don't know what it was off the top of my head because it's a couple of years ago at this point. He wrote some, I want to say like wrapper for messaging in some way, not like messaging like you DM someone, but like a protocol wrapper for pieces of data to be like wrapped up, decompressed on the other side. I think that's what it was. And he had a contract with Twitter that more or less said he didn't need to come in and he was formally employed, but it was more or less they bought his creation, but on paper they employed him and paid him a salary. And Musk was like, you're fired. And he was like, lol, sure, I'm taking my my proprietary code with me for this like little snippet of Twitter that would just break the entire thing. So that was pretty funny.
Code related is actually mind-bogglingly stupid. But I'm an engineer. I know how this stuff is going, so I'm not even speaking out of pocket right here, okay? If you want to disagree with me, feel free, but you're actually wrong.
All right, so he's a computer engineer, a cybersecurity engineer, a computer science engineer, and a video engineer, at least according to himself. Let's take a quick look at his university education.
So let's just skim over there, right? So computer engineer, don't know if that's actually a thing, probably is. Like I view that as computer science, splitting like two specializations in that of the underlying like computer science side of things, and then splitting down into like the actual programming side of things. Cybersecurity engineer, that's just a job title. I don't think you can study that. Although you can get like industry certifications, obviously, that would make you more qualified for that. Computer science engineer, I don't think that's a thing anywhere at all, but it could be, who knows. And video engineer, I don't even think that's a thing.
To see if that gives us a better clue which kind of engineer he originally studied to be.
Like, it's a really good explanation of why, like, I picked engineering as, like, the road to go down when I was studying. I'm like, I went to university for computer sciences, and that's it.
There we go. Yeah, so computer science. Like, you can... Like, you can't legally call yourself an engineer, like, for title reasons, but if you study computer science, the last 20 jobs have had the word engineer in it, that's fine. Everyone knows what you mean.
Dropped out like a semester in.
Although I do know in Canada, they, like I mentioned, they are very strict with the regulating body on that. And they, like, I would love to actually graduate as an engineer in Canada because they all get a ring. Originally it was made out of steel, I think. But there was a bridge somewhere in Canada that someone had cut a bunch of corners during the process of building it, designing it. And it cost a couple of lives. I don't want to say a couple to downplay it or anything, but there are a few people that died because of that engineering fuck up. So now they go through the whole ceremony, and there's a bit of a ritual with it where you put on your ring, and it's similar to the Hippocratic Oath where you swear to do no harm, but you swear not to cut corners, which is really cool. I love the concept.
I've never finished university.
Same, let's go. Shout out to the Flipper Zero in the background.
School, you know what I mean? Like, if you're going to learn to be
valuable.
Yeah, if you're going to be an engineer, if you're going to be a doctor, a lawyer, if you're going to be in the STEM field, you need to go to university, okay?
I slightly disagree with that.
To unpack and explain here already. First, Mudahar only partially did one semester in a computer science program.
Holy shit. Okay. I mean, yeah, like, so I haven't studied computer science at university, to be fair, but I did 2.5 years of electrical engineering at university. And I professionally, I would apply for engineering roles, software engineering specifically, but I would not, like less than one semester, you haven't learned anything.
Or dropping out. Though before I dig into that fully, let's double check his link.
To be fair, I don't actually remember shit, so I'd need to start from the beginning. If my credits didn't expire, I would need to start again anyway, because all of that has just left my mind, because it's been like 6-7 years since I studied.
To see what kind of other experience or education he has. If we look at Muda's link.
Also, I don't really like people using LinkedIn's as some like be all end all of what people have done, because like I always leave my last position off my LinkedIn deliberately, and it'll never be updated. It'll never be perfectly in line with what I'm actually doing. I don't even know if I've got all of my education on there. Like, I know that there's definitely a lot of people, especially like when you're looking for jobs, as I am at the moment. So if you need a senior engineer, software at least. But yeah, no, like people just don't update them all. He's obviously hasn't even got a profile picture or anything. So like, what does it matter? Who cares? Like, unless you're interacting with recruiters, it doesn't matter.
He has a diploma from Humber College for cinematography and film/video production. Plus, his only work experience listed for around that time period is web content producer. So I think it's
Yeah, like look at that. Like, I mean, he might still work there. Who fucking knows? But he just hasn't updated it. Like, who cares?
pretty clear based on Mudahar's own statements and recorded job history in the 2012 to 2015 time period. He never studied or did any engineering or software work or IT security stuff.
He could have and just not put it on it. Because, like, obviously, like, oh, wait a second. I'm an idiot. Web content producer, that would be YouTuber. Maker Studios Inc. We should check the registry for that business, see if it all lines up, I guess, but it's not fucking worth it. And if he does have a day job, like, I can fully understand. And like I said, I don't keep my LinkedIn up to date with my most recent role ever. And I'm just someone that argues on the internet. Like, he has millions and millions of subscribers, and someone might want to start shit with his company, like where he works. So it's fully understandable for not wanting that to be tied to something can so easily be found like LinkedIn.
Serious amount of time. Prior to 2012, he supposedly had 2 or 3 different IT jobs.
You're actually not lazy. You're just tired of doing everything alone. You know the
I'm a little bit lazy.
when someone asks, so how's your business? You read the playbooks, watched the gurus, and pulled the late nights, and still wake up buried under tasks. Here's what finally clicked. I wasn't lazy, I was just outgunned. When I swung my butter knife, my competitors rolled in AI armies, so I hired one of my own. Now an AI employee handles an inbox, the follow-ups, the shifting deadlines, all day, every day, without breaking a sweat. Now when people ask me about how my business is doing, I don't even flinch. I answer with numbers.
I told you guys, I'm a guy who used to code bank applications. So back in Canada,
I am someone that has coded more than one bank application, both for a bank and interfacing as a payment gateway directly through to a bank. So same.
I was basically finishing up my,
I should be able to judge fairly well whatever he's about to say.
high school diploma and everything. And at the time, I worked a little computer programming job. I worked as a pen tester, you know what I mean? Like, I got into the whole thing early. I had a couple connections.
Somehow, while he was around 17, he managed to get a job being a pen tester, and
Which is a little bit weird, but if he's got connections, that's not super weird, to be fair. Like, jumping straight in as a pen tester is a little bit weird, but that's the only thing that I find a little bit weird. Like, I've been working as a web dev since 16, 17 myself, so like, that's fine. Like, I'm not too aware of too many like junior fucking pen tester roles, just because that's something we generally need a bit more experience and education in, and you might need a couple of industry certs. But if you've got an industry connection already, and someone's like, hey, like, we can bring you in, we can train you on the job. If you know the basics already, then we can upskill you. That's fine. That could be legitimate.
same time period, he was also working as a programmer helping to create banking software. The pen tester claim might be plausible, but I have to ask, who was hiring some random kid with 0 experience to create bank software?
Literally, I'm not going to narrow it down too much, but my first, like, my internship was when I was like 16, 17, straight out of getting a tertiary qualification in programming while I was in high school, straight into a bank. I didn't do anything like serious there. Like, I didn't write anything serious in their back end. It was mainly internal tooling and front end stuff. But like,
It just sounds ridiculous, but let's put those teenage claims.
I mean, it's not like he was like in there with 4chan or anything, rewriting how they handle the, like, wasn't handling the network communication or anything like that. But like, banks hire interns for programming. That's actually super common, and probably one of the, I'm not going to say easiest, because I was recommended by my tutor who also worked at that bank. So that's how I got it, because I performed really well in the classes that were being taught by them. And they had an internship position that was opening up, and she put me forwards for it. But otherwise, like, that's not super uncommon.
Now, let me nitpick a bit the terms Mudahar has been using. He claimed to have
Both at once, so that is a little bit weird, but it could just be he was pen testing bank. Like, that is very believable, although they definitely would have people with a lot more experience in there with him. But you've got to start somewhere, and if you're going into security, pen testing, red team, you can start the kid running fucking scripts. Like, they're going to work just as well. He might not understand them properly, but if you can set everything up, like preload a Metasploit with everything that you need, like just let him run it, click that big button, he's good. And he will be able to contribute to the
done 1 semester of computer science. He
systems.
calls himself a computer engineer. These two things aren't exactly the same. Here in Canada, we have 4 major programs within the IT space: computer science, computer engineering.
All right, there we go. Yep, computer. All right, so like I said before, like computer science, computer engineering type of things. Personally, in my country, they generally, computer engineering, not too sure if it's a thing, but computer science sort of splits those two ways. So one gets into like computer engineering stuff, I guess.
Computer security, and software engineering. Now,
Fair. Yeah, no, fair enough. I would defer to someone from Canada speaking on it because, like I said, I'm not from Canada. But generally, most of these, computer security itself as a specialization, I'm not aware of it being a thing, and it could have been introduced since I've like stopped looking at universities and what they offer nowadays. So like maybe they do offer that as a thing, but it definitely wasn't around when I was applying, I guess, to university and going to uni. And software engineering, computer engineering both fell under computer science.
now, before I fully explain the difference, do keep in mind there is a lot of overlap between all 4 of these.
Let's just check that. So computer science is related to computer engineering, and software engineering related to computer engineering, and computer science related to computer security. Computer security as its own thing is a little bit weird. Like, I feel like that should probably, well, maybe, I guess, probably more on the science side.
Programs and graduates,
But whatever.
You jump between jobs you'd associate
Yeah.
with a specific path. Often,
Yeah, like they're all pretty, you know, like even like I primarily work like web stuff, but I can do all of it. Like the computer that, oh, actually no, not the computer that I'm streaming from, but I worked a job that I provided some level 3 support for someone. So that was like getting in contact with suppliers up the supply chain, going back to another country to get the spec sheet, and then reflashing a couple of the chips on their motherboard. And that sort of stuff was just something that I could do because I had other experience that just happened to all align with it. Security stuff, I don't actually have any security specific certifications, but I'm pretty good at what I do. So I could do like, I definitely wouldn't be able to replace someone that is fully above board, fully qualified, has all of the tickets, has all of the insurances, that kind of stuff. But I could definitely do some or even a fair chunk of what they could do, but I may not be able to present it in the right way as like a cursory check against the system. And I understand like the software engineering side of it, how to secure against that. But someone that is fully qualified and has specialized purely in computer security would be able to do their job a lot better than me, to put it bluntly.
For example, even though software engineering would produce software engineers like the name implies, computer science graduates tend to follow a lot of the same career paths and often do become software engineers as well. The same is true for computer engineering graduates as well. Anyways, let's start breaking these.
I like to run fast, I like to feel it in my mind, but also
Things down. Computer science is a program branch of mathematics focused on the field of computation. This is the oldest program type in IT.
Yeah, so that's sort of, so broadly, like I mentioned, we pretty much just have computer science and then sort of specialization within that. And this is much more like what you'd expect computer science to be. Just purely, it's mathematics, it's the theoretical side of it. And then computer engineering and software engineering, quote unquote, would be the hardware side, how that relates more to the theoretical mathematical side of it. And then software engineering as part of computer science is, well, not computer, what the fuck am I saying? Software engineering as part of the computer science sort of stream, I guess, would be the sort of, not exactly the practical application of it, but the practical application of it.
And this is still an incredibly common choice for people who want to go into software jobs in the future, though it has
So if you've ever done a like elite code test or anything like that, those do lean very heavily on the like practical applications with stuff like reversing a binary tree. Like, I can't say that I've ever done that in practice. There was one time where we did something really close. Can't remember off the top of my head. But like that sort of practical application of the computer science theories is what you get in the LEET code. And when you're going for those manga. Fuck, they'll take Fang from my cold dead hands. When you apply for those Fang jobs, they're like, I remember one of the LEET code hards that I did was like writing a LRU cache just from scratch. And like that kind of stuff you definitely can do. And I've done stuff like that just to optimize one of our like search algorithms. No, it wasn't even an algorithm, it just built the whole thing up, bottom up in fucking JavaScript. But anyway, that sort of stuff is where the computer science like theoretical aspect comes into it. And because I don't actually have a computer science degree or anything, there are at times things like if you asked me to reverse a binary tree just off the top of my head, like prove it mathematically, I probably couldn't do it. But if you presented it in a way like the LRU cache, for example, just off the top of my head, that would just... But if you explain it in terms like, hey, we just need to access the last read, whatever it is, I can just do it because I understand the fundamentals of how everything interplays. And I've got the 99% LEET code to prove it.
Much greater focus on the theoretical foundations of computing than any of the other programs. Software engineering is a newer program that, as the name implies, that focuses on the practical application.
Yeah, the algorithms, data structures, there we go.
Of how to build software itself. So in these programs, there is a much greater focus on software development lifecycles, user interfaces, software testing, and maintenance of software systems, along with some comp-sci overlap on topics such as design patterns, algorithms, data structures, and other things directly tied to creating software itself. Comp-sci and software engineering probably have the most overlap in jobs, mainly since programmers and developer jobs are some of the most common and plentiful choices, along with some of the best salaries, so both program graduates tend to go down similar career paths. Now there's computer security. This is a fairly new program that is offered. As the name implies,
well, there we go. That, yeah. Like I said, I don't remember it being around. When did I start studying? 2018, 2019, I think. Hang on. That can't be right. 2017? God, time. Anyway, whatever year it was, I don't think computer security was around so much. We actually might have had something for networking specifically. But I think that might have just been one of the streams under computer science as well. I definitely could be wrong on that.
This focuses on system security. These programs have a greater focus.
But equally, like I was saying, like these sorts of stuff, like pen testing, like I could just run fucking Metasploit, right? IoT is something that I do have a lot of experience with, just as something that I expose myself to because it's something that I have an interest in. Networking is something that is a lot easier than they fucking make it out to be. 100%. Networking is one of those weird things where the barrier to entry, like the skill floor is moderately high, but the skill ceiling is like an inch above it. So it seems a lot harder than it is, and it can be very overwhelming to get into, but it's very, very straightforward. It literally plug this into that, like, come on guys. And I have a very fun project on my GitHub you can check out that I've named as a portmanteau of Pi-hole and Power DNS. So how it works is a bunch of like Power DNS stuff, a bunch of DNS stuff on the back end that takes in API calls from traffic to assign DNS and all that good stuff on the fly. But yeah, that is called Powerhole on my GitHub. Mwah. And servers and databases is just something that you should know. Like if you know Linux, you know servers. Databases really aren't that complex. You can specialize in it. Like hyper optimized for when you get to the scale of like Facebook. But up until that point, like there's only so much you can learn about a goddamn database. You can optimize calls and everything. And one of my proudest moments a couple of jobs ago was taking an SQL query from running for like 33 seconds down to like 0.0000000 0 to the power of negative 13 point something seconds. And that was just through like optimization of the actual query itself. But that's just something that you're going to learn through writing code. Like the database itself,
on computer networks, Internet of Devices, and how to securely set up systems, as well as how to do pen testing and other things you associate more closely with the hacking areas of IT and computers. Lastly, we have computer engineering. This program is a combination of some comp sci and electrical engineering.
Yeah, so all, apart from assembly, I actually don't know if I did any assembly at university. I did in my tertiary certificates and diploma, but embedded systems, circuit boards, embedded systems and like the EE side of it were covered by EE.
Computer engineering program, you learn how to make circuit boards, design the actual hardware that makes up a computer, embedded systems, and how to create software for the hardware you design directly. There's a focus on lower level program than what a normal software engineer is using. The computer engineer will make the hardware function and have some basic ability, while the software engineer will be making programs on top or using the functionality of the hardware directly or indirectly.
Yeah, good summary. Good summary.
Now, what does this have to do with Mutahar?
The Sonotsu medallion.
Well, if we remember, he said he attempted to do one semester in a computer science program, but he dropped out. Yet he calls himself a computer engineer, which I find odd, since based on what I just explained and the clips compiled by Nick Andros, Mutahar...
Out of curiosity, I do wonder if that is a university dependent, like offering dependent terminology. Like, do all Canadian universities offer computer engineering as a separate course, separate from both computer science and electrical engineering? Is it something that only certain universities offer? Is it something that's recognized by the whatever the Association of Engineers is in Canada, whose name I've totally forgotten?
Study and previous possible work experience, he was always either a programmer or a pen tester. It seems odd to me that instead of calling himself a more appropriate title, like pen tester, programmer, developer, or software engineer, even if that last one would be a line stretch too, he decided to use...
I do very frequently, like casually, I would just refer to myself as a programmer. Because like that is most of my job. Like even it's like I mentioned earlier, like I applied for like a DevOps position or something like that. Oh, fucking you got a recruiter email about a DevOps position. Like DevOps isn't a fucking job. There's so many of these things just aren't actual, like database administrator, you're a fucking programmer. Like who cares? They're not real jobs. I just, but like seriously, like if you are a good full stack developer, you should know all of it, and that's all there is to it.
Or a pen tester. It seems odd to me that instead of calling himself a more appropriate title, like pen tester, programmer, developer, or software engineer,
like even like I'll give Pyro this, like he did like refer to himself. I mean, I don't know if he actually did ever call himself a dev at Blizzard. Blizzard, by the way, I worked at Blizzard, the first second generation Blizzard employee. I don't know if he ever did actually call himself a dev. I know that he referred to himself as a pen tester, which is like what people would say, or like a red team specialist or something like that. Like that is the standard nomenclature for those roles.
If that last one would be a line stretch too, he decided to use computer engineer, a job title that implies electrical engineering experience, which clearly he has zero of. It does seem like Mutahar carefully chose that title since it's the only field that involves what most people would consider real traditional engineering in it, namely electrical engineering. Now let's move on to our next problem area of debate.
But even like, I don't know, I actually don't recall what I said like 20 minutes ago, but I wouldn't generally say electrical engineering. I just shorten it to EE. Or like, I know most mechanical engineers shorten it to ME. Like that's generally the nomenclature, the terminology that is used, especially if you've been working in the field. Like
title engineer in Ontario, Canada. Unlike a lot of countries, the title engineer is protected in Canada, and
it is in my country as well. But again, it doesn't matter because the jobs, like I said, there's an environmental engineer position that wasn't hiring for an actual environmental engineer.
To get a professional engineer license or a certificate of authorization if you...
Oh, okay. So yeah, professional engineer is the requirement. Hang on, where is it? Professional Engineers Act. Yeah, the title engineer is restricted in Ontario. So that's the title that you can't use. Like legally, you can, like the fucking, what's called? The honorific. Like I think PNG is an honorific that you can get in Canada.
Yourself an engineer or provide
and
any kind of engineering services or work.
Australia, I think, maybe.
Response from VX Underground, partially defending Mutahar. While I'm explaining the section, if we look at
whoa.
Underground,
long rant, people probably won't care to read, but it's an opinion. Skip to look at a picture of cat. Oh hell yeah! After skimming the comments, I've seen some. Sorry, let me start that again. After skimming the comments, I've seen people say some relatively negative comments about SOG. Can't attest to his character on his personal level or professional level because I haven't spoken with him in any capacity beyond hello, thanks, and no problem, etc. However, Regarding his skill set and level of experience, I don't believe he is lying. Maybe possibly he is exaggerating his education level, but I don't believe he is a complete moron, which others have suggested in the comments. Just quickly before we go on to the next slide. So I have seen a couple of his videos that I watched back in the day, so I may be misremembering, but where he was doing like, it wasn't a proper like code review or anything, but he was analyzing something. It might have been Cloudflare or something that he was pulled up some code for, and like his summary was pretty accurate. I do remember that there was one thing that he did get wrong, but we all do every now and then. That's neither here nor there. It definitely seemed like he knew what he was talking about, so I don't think he is falsifying anything in that regard specifically. He definitely has at least some baseline skill level. He would code circles around pirate software, which is the important part.
If we look at VX Underground's tweet, we can find...
For those unfamiliar in cybersecurity and information technology field, it is extremely common for individuals to be labeled an engineer despite not being an engineer in a traditional sense. Exactly. Individuals do not need to possess a degree, have a powerful understanding of mathematics like civil engineer or mechanical engineer would. The engineering term in the software and software architectural sense is more akin to developing, maintaining, or designing a system, in which a system of systems may exist, interact, or fuck, that's a word I've never actually fucking pronounced, interrupt with each other. It is still engineering. However, it is an abstraction, does not feel like engineering, has historically. Other engineers strongly dislike people in the IT field being labeled engineers, but it is what it is, dog. Which, yeah, no, that pretty much sums it up. Just to address that point, I actually didn't like using the term engineer either, in reference to software engineering, but I sort of, as my skill set and the requirements of the job and just the landscape of web development has sort of evolved, I'm more in favor now of terms like architectural engineer in reference to software, just because you do need to apply like a lot of the same sort of patterns to things when you're designing, say, a what's the word? When you're designing a system, I was gonna say an asynchronous messaging queue, that sort of stuff. When you need to scale it up, you do need fundamental understandings of a lot of like sort of architectural principles, even though it's not fucking architecture.
And this section here, where they state that within IT, it's extremely common for people to get the title engineer,
which is true.
Like a traditional engineer. And you know what I have to say for that? I agree, actually. Not only do I agree, but this is incredibly common here within Ontario, too.
Yeah, 100%.
In fact, most software engineers here in Ontario never get a professional engineering license, since it's almost never actually required for the job. And the PO is against the title software engineer being used by non-holding engineers. But
Hold on. Software engineering involves design or analysis of software that both requires application of engineering principles and where use of the software impacts health, safety, or property of its user. That is the one thing that I'm very... So my stance on generally on higher education altogether, a lot of it can be a scam, but I think if what your work is going to, the application of your field of study, if it impacts the health, safety, or property of anyone that interacts with it, you should absolutely go get certified, do every test possible. So that's one of the reasons that I even just generally, I stay away from like any health tech stuff. Just because if I fuck up, that is someone's life on the line. And that's not something that, even though I know I can write tests properly, I know I can code very well, it's not something that I would want to rest on my conscience if something did go wrong. And I remember there was a couple of years ago, the whole issue with that guy that wrote the X-ray, was it an X-ray scanner? It's something in radiology that all came from like one guy writing it in assembly. And there was like some weird like overflow or some interaction of user inputs that blasted someone with like 1 million times more radiation than they should have had, that should have been possible to give them because of like one coding fuck up. And that's not something I ever want to rest on my conscience.
Not really a huge deal here, and there isn't a whole lot of enforcement. Also, this isn't the same across Canada. In Quebec, for example, this matter is taken a lot more seriously, and that's why they title nearly all their jobs developer or programmer to avoid the engineer title and license hassle. While in places like Alberta, it has been ruled in a case before that a software engineer isn't an engineer in the traditional sense, so it's fine to use the title without breaching the PO rules. Here in Ontario, it's sitting in a gray area. While the PO is against the usage, most places, especially startups, don't really care and throw around the software engineer title without issue. Some companies like airlines, I heard, are stricter here in Ontario and do expect you to get your...
Yeah, well, 100%. Like I mentioned, like if you fucking up, making a typo is going to kill someone, get the fucking certification.
Engineering license, but that's the uncommon case. Basically, since software engineering isn't a public impacting traditional branch of engineering, it's not really regulated or cared about by most in the same way as civil or structural engineering. Plus, a lot of companies and startups are starting to fight to be able to use the term software engineer without the legal hassles associated with it. Now, that
Imagine being able to build anything just by thinking about it. Meet Base 44, a complete AI creation platform made for anyone with an idea and a drive to bring it to life. Describe what you want and watch it take shape. You can plan, customize, and expand in any direction. From tools built for one to platforms ready for many. From passion projects to enterprise-grade systems. Everything.
A little discussion aside about software and IT, while I agree it's not a huge deal itself, and many people do get into IT fields without needing an engineer license or degree, Mutahar doesn't call himself a software engineer normally. He calls himself a computer engineer. Now, while there might be an
I could see someone taking issue with that, but only someone that does hold an actual professional engineering tithes membership with the professional engineering board in Canada.
Spoken past for software, I'm not sure the same holds true for computer engineers, since again, computer engineers do have an expectation to deal with electrical engineering, something that is considered a traditional branch of engineering and does require a professional engineering license. His title choice is a lot harder to defend here in Ontario. One YouTuber by the name of Harmful Opinion seems to have reported Mutahar to the PO, since he wanted an answer to this question and didn't want
got bored overseeing squabbling over Canadian legalities, so I just reported the guy so we can find out. Response so far has just been a chief enforcement officer asking me for further evidence he lives in Ontario, or otherwise a legally relevant connection to the province. This is exactly why I can understand if he doesn't keep his LinkedIn up to date. That's all I'm going to say on that.
speculate. Since Mutahar never seems to have offered any actual engineering services, I doubt he's going to face any serious consequences, legally speaking. With
Yeah. That's. I don't think that's likely that he'll get a fine. I think he's probably fine. Nice.
most probable outcome being a fine, he'll have to
That's like. I think that's unlikely. I think it's probably pretty unlikely. Like I said, I actually don't know. I don't know the inner workings of the Ontario engineering board, whatever they call it as, how they handle it. And I don't think he's gonna get in any like legal trouble, even a fine. I don't know if they could fine him if he's not a member.
pay at work
I'm not too sure about that one.
and possibly have to give another more explicit and direct public
Yeah, like that I would say could be possible. Probably not even likely. I could say it's probable. And just saying, hey, I'm not actually certified, I'm not qualified to say that I have this title, but I can't imagine it really going any further. And if it was a fine, it would just be a token, like amount. The maximum fine would be for performing and operating as if you were fully qualified and recognized by that association without the qualifications or acknowledgement of the association. That's what the $10,000 would be.
So while I agree the protectionism of the title engineer for IT is a bit silly, Mutahar probably did fly a bit too close to the sun with his specific usage here in Canada. Not to mention his complete lack of work experience and education really doesn't help his case, even for those that are the self-taught angle. Also, while we're on the topic of computer engineer, let me debunk something quickly. There was a super viral tweet going around from Kaguya's top gal that got
Please get him the H1B1 visa and let's fucking go.
Mutahar pretended to be a computer engineer to get a visa so he could come to
The inclusion of that third script.
Canada with a picture of one of Gamma's videos. Okay, first of all, Gamma in his video of Mutahar lied, people cried, never said anything like this. Also, Mutahar was living in North America way before he was 18 and was even attending high school within the greater Toronto area.
I think everything I've seen from this man, he has mentioned being Canadian. My condolences, Mr. Mutahar.
Here's a picture I managed to find of a teenage Mutahar attending a high school in what I believe to be the city of Mississauga specifically. So this claim
How the fuck could you know that?
is completely bogus and something Kaguya just
Like, I'm not saying it probably isn't, but like, how the fuck did you get that information from that image? I mean, fair enough if like he grabbed it from like a high school or something, or someone that went to high school with him, but fuck knows how you get that information from the image alone.
for engagement bait. There is zero truth to this, and Gamma is innocent and had nothing to do with the claim. Okay, now let's go back to the VX Underground tweets. The next part we'll look into is the paragraph where Mutahar ordered the entire VX
Previously, he purchased a copy of our malware collection from us. It's approximately 3 million malware payloads, as well as papers and source code, and upon receiving the drive, he dug into it immediately. I watched his analysis video where he played with the malware payloads. He certainly isn't a malware person, in that he didn't seem to understand certain attributes about malware payloads he was playing with. However, he still understood the high-level overview on how some of them worked. Basically, it was like watching a slightly less noob explaining to noobs. It was cool, no hate. I think he had fun showing others. Ultimately, this is what we strive for. Computers and malware are fun. 100% that checks out. That's pretty much like what I said earlier, where he didn't understand one of the like nitty-gritty details, but he had a decent high-level understanding, and that was enough to convey that he did have some understanding. But yeah, like malware specifically can be very weird to look at. I forget the guy's name, redhead, guy that on YouTube does malware decompilation analysis and like deobfuscation. And he's like a professional at it, like with industry certs, that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of factors to malware that can make them insanely complex. But based on the like source code for not the payloads themselves, because that is actually just going to be ridiculous to look at 99% of the time if there's been any kind of cryptography over the top of it. But I've looked at the source code of the Dark Comet rat back in the day and a couple of other rats, predominantly remote administration tools. And they are actually pretty straightforward. Understandable if he didn't understand some of that stuff, and I think some of that stuff he probably didn't understand would have been related to the like the networking connection, which I think might have actually been, as I mentioned earlier, something similar that I think it was Cloudflare that he was looking at. So that all lines up with everything that I said so far.
Malware collection on a drive and explored it. I was pretty curious to see what Mudahar would do with the virus collection, so I went and found the video in question. It's
cool. I'm keen to see this.
I got hacked by North Korea in this.
Okay. So if anyone has a Android phone, you can get viruses on them. Generally, you need to do something really stupid to get a virus on an Android. I got a virus on my Android. I got hacked by China, unironically. Nothing bad came of it because at that point I was running my like DNS blocker like on my home network, and I noticed a strange ping coming from my phone. And I'm like, oh shit, I just deliberately installed malware on my phone because I'm a fucking idiot. And then I just wiped it, I didn't wipe my phone, I just deleted it, all remnants of it, the persistence module. That's all good now, but I did unironically get hacked by China. Maybe I should do a video on that, just because it is clickbaity as fuck.
Link below for anyone that wants to view it themselves. Naturally, I went and watched the video, but honestly, there's nothing for me to really say. Like, if we look at the VX Underground tweet, they say Mudahar was playing with the payloads, but I feel like that's a bit of a stretch. Basically, in the video, Mudahar gets the drive from the...
It is weird that they provided him with the payloads, because the payloads, like, the actual malware payloads are only something you'd really be interested in from a detection standpoint. Like, why the fuck would you want 36 million malware payloads unless you were writing like fucking antivirus? So it's like sites like fucking, what are they? Virus Total and that sort of thing. Like they would want 36 million payloads because they're only interested in the payloads, so to speak. Well, obviously they're probably interested a bit more, but the payloads are like the predominant thing that they are looking for. But like from like any other perspective, maybe you could decompile them for the fun of it and take a poke around, which sounds like from this tweet what he was doing. But
Underground that you ordered, he attaches it and explains what's inside it, what folders are there, and what's inside.
Argus sounds so familiar. Oh yeah, so virus share collection. I assume that would be something like Virus Total. Argus collection. That sounds so familiar. Let's just give that a quick Google. Argus malware. Addiction malware. So that's just ping something. Ransomware in enterprise cloud environments. Allegedly. Yeah. All right. Yeah. 2017.
side, namely viruses, papers, and other malware-related tooling. Then he, on another laptop, goes and just runs a bunch of random viruses directly on his system until it gets completely wrecked. During the entire...
That's pretty funny. Not gonna lie, that is pretty funny. So generally you would get some sort of isolation between whatever the system is that's going to run the virus payloads and your hardware. No, there aren't too many that actually like that break out of sort of your operating system level. But it's better safe than sorry with that kind of a thing. Just run a fucking VirtualBox, shove it in there and run it to your heart's content.
Video, he never really dives into anything or explains anything technical.
Atlas, dear Tom, your files have been encrypted by RSA 2048 and Cha-Cha algorithms. I actually don't know what the Cha-Cha algorithms are. The only way to restore them is to buy a decryptor. These algorithms are one of the strongest. You can read about them at Wikipedia. If you understand the importance of the situation, you can restore all files by following instructions in decrypt-files.bd file. You can decrypt 3 files for 3 as proof of work. We know that this computer is very valuable to you, so we will give you the appropriate price for recovering. Let me just real quick reset. How many hours do I have more required to level up my strength? 1 day. Let's fucking go. That's 24 hours, baby. Let me pop a super strength, super attack, and get right back into it.
Well, he basically gives the most surface level commentary on what he's seeing at any given moment while messing around with the drive.
I mean, what do you really expect to do when you're running the payloads? Like, your computer's just gonna shit itself, and what can you do other than go, huh, that happened?
On Mutahar for the video or VX Underground, I can totally see why this might be entertaining for the average viewer, but there really isn't anything in this video to show Mutahar has any kind of domain knowledge or experience.
Yeah, fair. I haven't seen the video, but like I said, like, what can you really do when you're just running the fucking, like, ransomware on your computer other than going, it's fucked.
I'll agree with VX Underground's sentence near the end, where it really does seem like a very slightly less noob, showing noobs random tech stuff.
Which is fine. That's fun.
See what else he managed to find about Mutahar's IT projects and work.
Do you do programming? I don't know why that took me 3 different ways to ask that.
I do.
Destiny jump scare. I get really paranoid. Like, the reason that I didn't have any music playing was because I was watching Destiny just crashing out about fucking Hassan again. But I'm a little bit worried showing it on Twitch just because, like, banned, blah, blah, blah. Let's pray nothing bad goes down.
More of a hobbyist thing now for me personally. I'm just trying to, like, work around with consoles at this point, like reverse engineer shit that I have.
Oh, gotcha.
Oh, fair.
So that's what I'm into now. It's just like
That's fine. That's fine.
It's become like a hobbyist thing for me at this point. Like,
Okay, reverse engineering console is crazy advanced stuff. This isn't something
Yes.
an amateur can really do or easily learn on their own. If Mutahar was talking about real non-documented systems reverse engineering, that might involve some basic soldering work, assembly debugging, dumping ROMs, analyzing data while the system is running, all pretty tough and time-consuming things.
Like I mentioned, the laptop that I get at my old job when I applied that level 3 support, this is what I had to do. When I flashed one of the EEPROM chips. I needed to take when we went up the supply chain, we got a bin dump for the firmware for it, and then I needed to reflash it and all of that stuff, which was possible because we just went directly up the supply line. But reverse engineering it is, I'm not going to say ridiculous and very, very hard, but it's not something you can just sort of pick up on a weekend.
Here's a great video by Poking Technology showing how he went about reverse engineering a 6502 based game console. This is a very simple system, even compared to older game consoles like the Super Nintendo or Genesis, and it still takes an incredible amount of knowledge, work, and trial and error to make any kind of progress. Now, if Mutahar is doing reverse engineering or emulation type of work on existing popular consoles, that's slightly less bad, since you can avoid a lot of the real-world hardware messing around stuff or dumping ROM needs, since those systems and parts are well documented and understood, with info easily available online. Though again, trying to write an emulator is once again pretty advanced stuff, and
I've never done that. I probably will never do that, but I do have some friends that have done that. Like while we were at university, they wrote emulators, and it is insanely complex. Not actually, like, I'm not going to say it's insanely complex. Like, no one could ever do it. Like I said, it's like someone made in in university did it while we were in uni. But yeah.
amateur user is going to be able to do or easily learn on their own. You're going to need to understand lots of highly technical things, like how the system's CPU works, what kind of chips the system has, and other quirks or special hardware that might be included, and how it interacts with the other parts of the system itself. Anyways, let's see what other tech stuff Mutahar works on.
No, right now as a video editor, I do more engineering now, so back-end programming for effects work. I'm working on a new codec for video right now for H.265, so we can actually transmit better video quality.
That is actually insane. All right, so like, so remember like I don't know if anyone saw the stream. I don't know if it's up on YouTube, but I tried doing something similar. It's not a fucking new codec at all. It's not a new method for like fucking encrypting, fucking sending video. It was just running the RMTP server so I could stream to it, and then it would re-encode it just using FFmpeg, re-encode it, and then send it back up to multiple platforms so I could multi-stream. That was a hassle and a half, and this is the sort of stuff that I predominantly, like, I'm not gonna say specialize in, but like that's something that I have a lot more experience with. Like if you're writing in fucking encoding system for video, that is insane. Like that's the sort of shit that you do once, sell it to Apple, and you're a billionaire. Like when I mentioned earlier, like Musk like had that guy that was on payroll that wrote some like proprietary encoding software. Like that's that sort of shit that you do, that you get one of those positions where you are paid in perpetuity for this shit that you write.
I'm actually doing something which...
Okay, timeout. Before I even start explaining this, I'm calling 100% BS and lies on this claim. Mutahar is not working on a video codec or contributing to H.265. High efficiency video coding, also known as H.265, is a video codec standard itself. It does not make any sense that he's making a new codec to work on an existing codec/standard. Next, codecs are incredibly complex standards and pieces of software, and a result of sometimes close to decades worth of work with some of the world's largest companies and greatest minds working together.
Yeah, like look at the hold up. Let me replay that. Just look how many patents each of the companies involved in it have, just in reference to this. Samsung. So let's just name the companies that worked on it first. In conjunction, Samsung Electronics, General Electric, the guys that make washing machines, and the A10 Warthog baby. M&K Holdings, NTT, JVC Kenwood, Fujitsu, Apple, Canon, Columbia University, no clue what KIST is, Kwangwon University, MIT, I'm not even going to try to pronounce that, Funai, Hikvision, KBS, KT, and NEC. And Samsung Electronic has almost 4,500 patents just relating to this.
Sometimes close to decades worth of work with some of the world's largest companies and greatest minds working together. Even the people doing small bits here and there are fairly good and competent programmers, not amateur hobbyists. Next, let's actually look at the diagram for HVAC Nick Anders put up in his video. If this looks complex, that's because this is fairly complex. Let's look.
Very, very complex.
Look at the left-hand side at the very top. This coding tree units is actually step 2, technically speaking. Before this step, there's another preparation step where the input video is collected and some pre-processing is done. The goal of this step is to...
Like that sort of stuff? Maybe. Like the... like this is all that I did in reference to like the conversion and the compression stuff that I was doing with the RMTP server. And that was just to optimize the quality for each of the services like YouTube, Twitch, etc., because they all handle slightly better or worse qualities. And I was trying to optimize it a little bit, just make it a little bit better. And that was a lot. Just that was a lot for me. And this is all that was. That was like the pre-step.
Prepare the frames for the compression process. This can include stuff like color space conversion, downsampling chroma channels, and frame reordering for better temporal prediction. Temporal redundancy is a fancy term that means you're basically taking 2 frames and trying to figure out the difference between them and only storing the difference instead of the entirety of the next.
The Primogen has a great video on this. I'm pretty sure it was Primogen that did it. And if not, I'm 98% sure that Theo also has done a stream that I watched that covers some of the more advanced applications of this, which is very cool. Definitely recommend checking it out.
Looks like, but hasn't yet tried to compress it down yet. Now we're on to step 2 of the process, partitioning the frame into coding tree units, or CTUs for short. This is the start of the diagram flow we can actually see. The goal of this step is to break a frame down into more manageable blocks of pixels for analysis. H.265 supports up to 64 by 64 CTUs, and they can further be divided into coding units with a quad tree structure. Then the coding units are further divided into prediction units, PU for short, and transform units, or TUs for short. Or in more plain English, we're taking a video frame and splitting it down into smaller block-shaped pieces, then we can once again break down those blocks into even smaller blocks. This third level block split are the pieces of data that will actually be processed in later steps.
And just to quickly sidetrack a little bit, so a lot of the games nowadays where they use AI upscaling, they just drop a shit ton of that information from individual frames. Maybe, I don't know. I actually don't know. I am spitballing here a little bit. So if someone is more qualified, drops an opinion, absolutely defer to them. But the AI upscaling is hey, this is the data that we send, and we can just cut down a bunch of the frame data that is being sent because, hey, here's a face. We can probably assume there's another eye attached to this. So fuck it, we won't send them another eye.
This third level block split are the pieces of data that will actually be processed in later steps. Now we move on to step 3, the prediction and estimates. H.265 doesn't store every single frame from a raw video. Instead, it tries to predict future frame data from existing frame data. It does this through 2 types of predictions, inter-prediction and intra-prediction. Intra just means the prediction is done without reference to the other frames. Only the data within the frame itself is used for it, while inter means other frame data is used to help make the prediction and adjustments. Inter-prediction is stuff like the motion estimations and compensation, where the encoder finds matching content in other frames and uses motion vectors plus motion compensation to create the predicted block instead of resetting all the pixels within a frame block. For a clearer example, let's pull up the separate diagram. Here we can see there's a race car and it's moving from the center of the frame to the bottom right. Since the race car is moving, instead of saving all of the frame data for it every frame, instead what can be done is store the original frame race car data, then use motion vectors to simply move that block data across the screen that matches up with the future frame position. Intra-prediction is for areas where inter-prediction doesn't help. Here the encoder predicts a block from neighboring pixels in the same frame. Basically, instead of saving every single block of data, the encoder will try to predict what surrounding blocks of pixels will look like with specific modes and patterns. Now we're on to the 4th step with the transformation, scaling, and quantization. In this step, it's where the predictions made and the actual block data of a frame are compared and turned into saved frequency data. There's a lot of integer approximations done here with discrete cosine and sine transformations. This transformation step makes it easier to concentrate the visual information into smaller numbers of coefficients. Then the quantization is done, and the goal of that is to throw away small, less visible details to save bits. The coefficients are divided by the quantization step size. Basically, what all that means in English, the difference between frames are found, and this is known as the residual. From there, the larger your quantization step is, the more compression is going to be done, and the more quality loss there will be compared to the original raw frame. Since human vision isn't perfect and has different quirks, we don't need every micro shade of a color saved in a block. For example, since the size and information is basically seen as the same larger block of color when we humans look at it from a far enough distance, the goal of this step size is to basically remove as much possible color noise and data without it visibly affecting how we see the image frame block itself. Then we move on to the next step, entropy coding, or here in the diagram, header forming and context adaptive binary arithmetic coding. The goal of this step is to take all the data and info from the previous steps and store it as compactly as possible so that the CABAC is encoding the prediction modes, the motion vectors, and the quantized coefficients into a bit stream. While the efficiency for storing this is fairly high, that also means this is pretty computationally intensive while trying to play back a video. Anyways, back to the diagram steps. Then we reach the loop filters, which is the deblocking and sample adaptive offset. Basically, this step is trying to smooth out and clear the final stored frame. Since the frames are processed in small blocks, there ends up being clear visual block-shaped artifacts and leftovers once the process reaches this point. The filter and deblocking step helps smooth out and blend these output blocks so it's not noticeable in the final output frame. Alright, now we're at the last step for the encoder, general control. The goal of this step is to package all of the encoded information for storage or transmission. This is where the headers are added with sequence information, timing info, and other things you expect the video file to have. Then the last spot of the diagram to note, we have the output video signal here in the bottom right. This is the decoder step. The decoder is basically doing most of what I just explained in reverse. To help make this entire process a bit easier to understand, let me give a quick analogy. Let's say you had a giant Lego city built, and you wanted others to be
I'm just going to let this all play out because this is a bit above my pay grade. And he's doing an amazing job of explaining it. So that's why I'm just going to let that last chunk play out, and I'll let him carry on.
to recreate and view it. So encoding is like the process of taking that entire Lego city and making an instruction manual with every single step and piece recorded. Then someone that has the...
That is a really good analogy. 10 out of 10. Great analogy.
Pieces and manual can recreate the original Lego city near perfectly. Okay, with all of that talk aside, can we all take a moment and appreciate the absolutely insane amounts of effort, research, and sheer work that goes into making video possible? This is truly an absolutely incredible feat of human engineering that most of us probably never really think twice about. Now, back to Mutahar. Does anyone think he has any clue how H.265 technically works?
No.
Or that he could realistically work and create his own video codec, or something on top of H.265 himself? Yeah, I thought not. Mutahar never seems to try and claim he's working on more normal tech projects or things. He doesn't talk about working on websites, picking up new programming languages, making random apps. He seems to have an odd tendency to always lie about the most impressive, cool, and challenging possible things that a developer could work on. I'm not going to speculate too much on why he chooses to lie so often. Other YouTubers, I'm sure, will do a lot more of that, but I will say from what I've seen, he always does seem to carefully craft his lies, targeting projects and topics that he seems to think would give him the maximum amount of respect and admiration possible. Anyways, let's go back to Nikander's.
But that's the thing, like, how many people in that call you think even are aware of that? Like, how many people do you think care about that? Like, when we go back to like, if we just jump back to that moment in the video where he was telling someone that I assume wouldn't have the foggiest about HVAC, encoding, like, most people don't know how complicated it is. So why would he lie about that? Like, if you told, maybe, because most people wouldn't be impressed by it because they don't understand it. They don't understand that they don't understand it. So saying like, oh yeah, I'm working on some video stuff, like, no one's gonna care.
Vid and see what else he found on Mutahar.
That's one of those things. Like, a lot of people find things more technically impressive than they really are. Like changing the color of a button on a homepage, for example. Like, people, like, obviously that's a bad example, but whatever. They'll think that's shows more of a sign of proficiency than doing some fancy back-end optimization, for example. Because most people don't give a shit about how quickly it's accessing like some data from a database, or how well it's associating this, that, the other. But there's like, that's one of those things, like, who the fuck cares about video encoding stuff unless maybe a YouTuber's, like, just generally the skill and knowledge floor, just the sort of the exposure to it would mean that they might be able to appreciate it a little bit more. But yeah, it seems a bit silly to say that, to say the least.
I want to sell to Microsoft at some point later.
Yeah, I mean, if he is 100% doing what he says he's doing, that is not only a possibility, a probability.
So I've been designing AI toolset that basically you can inject, hopefully, into like video tools, and this is gonna be like video games or whatever, right? So it's like, let's say that Microsoft backwards compatibility, right? So I had this tool idea. This is kind of what I got going in my head. So
in his head. So has he done any part of it yet? Because I have some really cool concepts in my head and in Notion and in notebooks and everywhere. But I do also build a lot of cool stuff, but a lot of it isn't finished because I think of other cool stuff. But does he have any progress on it so far?
I have this idea and I hope to one day sell it to Microsoft, right? So what I do is, since I have a really good video background, right? I've been designing neural stuff around it. So what I want to do one day is, you know how Microsoft has backwards compatibility, right? So
with what? For what? What do you mean Microsoft does backwards compatibility? I mean, like, I'm gonna need a bit more context because sometimes when you try playing a game, hang on, let's just jump to my desktop, right? Hold on. Boom. So down here, I've got an old game called Star Ruler 2 and Black and White 2, right? And Black and White. So those are all games that were like for fucking Windows 95 or XP or some shit. And they have issues running. I don't usually do too much on Windows, so it's not like something that I'm super exposed to. But like, what do you mean by backwards compatibility for Windows?
I could design a way.
I think a lot of things broke with fucking Vista as well, and that got like decommissioned. I don't know. I generally don't use Windows, so I could be wrong, but
Hey, that Microsoft could take the.
That is the creepiest fucking gates I've seen in a while.
Textures in their
Making my Microsoft micro hard.
video games, right? So they could take the textures mapped in their video games and find a way to AI upgrade them. So like basically,
That was what I was saying. That's what they already do. NVIDIA's already cracked that, buddy. Sorry, bad news on that front. But yeah, no, that is a thing. But that actually would like that would be a like computer engineering thing, and that is what NVIDIA is paying their boys the big bucks to do.
use a fucking photo AI, like basically use an artificial intelligence that can scan across,
Jarvis, show me that man's balls.
you know, all these textures and just fucking upscale them to like 4K, 8K, whatever they want to go to, and make games look better without needing, you know, developers to make it better, right? That could be an idea for me.
That could be an idea for me. Whew. Alright, so just quickly, so that sort of stuff runs in the GPU, like on the GPU, in the GPU, where it's like the most efficient to handle that frame data, like that. So I'm not going to skip back, but you remember when we saw the buffers for each frame, and they were loaded up and then passed through and then decoded and then displayed on the output. That needs to be injected into the fucking hardware to like enhance the processing, and that is like a onboard on the fucking card. Go get a job at NVIDIA. They will pay more than you could make anywhere else. Like, I mean, if you could do it solo and sell it to Windows, I don't even know if they would be capable of applying it. As stupid as that is to say, the what's the company that makes the TSMC, is it, that makes all of the chips for NVIDIA? Like, they're the only place that you can get the chips that'll be able to handle it. And NVIDIA is the only company that's really using those chips to make the graphics cards. So you need to, then they've got a pretty tight coupling. So I don't even know if Microsoft could make use of it.
simple on paper. Obviously, it's very, very, very fucking time consuming to make it even as effective as you want.
So that giant word salad aside, basically Mutahar wanted to create an AI image upscaler and one day sell it to Microsoft. Don't worry, I'm not going to start trying to badly explain how AI works or is made now, but let me just say there's already lots of image upscaler programs out there, and nearly all of the big tech companies have their own in-house solutions for image upscaling.
Literally exactly what I was saying before. Vindicated.
I don't think Mutahar has the skills to build something like this, and I don't think this is something Microsoft would be interested in buying from him either, when they already have half a dozen solutions in-house already, not to mention they're partnered with OpenAI and have access to all the cutting-edge research and work they've done. Plus, there's tons of open source upscalers out there already, more than
I've actually used Waifu 2x for, not for anime stuff, but it was really good for upscaling just in general. But, well, hang on, what was I about to say? Oh yeah, all of this is like mathematically extremely complex as well. Like alright, actually, fuck that. Let's put that to the side. Fuck the maths. Fuck, I just forgot the other point that I was about to make when I said fuck the maths. Hang on. Let's just go back and replay it just to see if I can jog the old memory. All right, never mind. I don't remember.
all the cutting-edge research and work they've done. Plus, there's tons of open source upscalers out there already, more than a decade old, like Waifu 2x. And don't let the name fool you. It's one of the absolute best image upscalers for non-photorealistic images, and a fair number of game
Vindicated once again.
studios and developers have used it to upscale some of their textures for remasters or patch updates. All right, let's go back to Mutahar and see what else he talked about.
One of the code bases that we're looking at over here is this falling particle. Now, there's a lot of numbers that are being dropped in here, and one of the things that you'll tend to see...
I'm always down to shit on Mr. Pirate Software. All right, let's just quickly take a look at this. I don't think I've ever... So I've jumped in a couple of thought streams, and I've never seen him do anything more than edit a YAML file on any of his dev streams, so who knows what he's really up to. Let's just take a quick look at this. This might be the only code that I ever see for it, and it might be, if I'm lucky, it might be the only code that I have to ever see for this. Falling particle creates it, part type, sprite, size, life, alpha. I mean, I've skimmed over Coding Jesus' review of this, but magic numbers everywhere. Duh. Other than that, It's shit. It should be just a constructor somewhere, but if this is the right way to do it, who cares? Let it roll.
Now, there's a lot of numbers that are being dropped in here, and one of the things that you'll tend to see in Pirate Software's code is magic number abuse.
Okay, I have a slight problem with this. For anyone that has seen my part 2 DRM analysis and code review on Pirate Software, you'll know magic numbers is something I myself criticize Pirate Software on in a lot of places in his code base. Now, for this very specific...
For anyone that doesn't know, magic numbers are numbers that appear without any sort of explanation of what they really represent. So for example, just what we can see on screen, text border equals 0. We don't really know. Okay, we could probably assume from the numbers below it, but we don't know that the border being 0 means there's no border. We don't know if it's setting an actual color for the border. We don't know anything about it. So if you change that to a 1, fuck knows what will actually happen. Obviously, if you change it, you can just take a look at what the result is. So it doesn't really matter too much, but it is always best to sort of like not hard-coded in the sense of making it immutable, but to at least have some type of structure there that does explain the what, the why. More the why than the what has always been helpful, but yeah. So things for the text timer, room speed, time 0.4. Just make that a constant if your text timer is probably going to be pretty consistent throughout most of your code. So just make that a constant, like room speed seems to be, maybe, I'm not too sure.
clip and file, I'm actually going to defend Pirate Software. GameMaker is an IDE, which is just a fancy term to mean the program helps you with coding. Specifically, these functions shown here on screen are built into GameMaker itself, and if you go over the arguments, you can actually see what they're called and what they do. While an argument could be made, variables should be used, this is an extremely weak example and place to talk about magic number abuse. I find it a bit strange.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, fair.
The Mudahar talks about coding and having experience with all sorts of crazy, complex, and difficult things, yet he doesn't seem to be able to think a bit more critically on a small code snippet. It seems like either he doesn't really know much and can't offer any commentary above an average non-tech commentator, or he was too lazy to check any of the code himself and was 100% repeating comments and issues he's heard or read from Reddit or other YouTubers and just assuming they were true without verifying the claims himself. Anyways, with that techie stuff out...
I mean, I would agree that the magic number abuse was definitely going on there, but that's more like a stylistic choice, I would say. It's nitpicking if that is the standard for the code structure in fucking game editor, game maker, whatever it is.
...the VX Underground tweet and finish reading what else they wrote.
I do not believe him to be a skilled reverse engineer or malware developer or threat intelligence analyst or anything that we, our collective membership, would focus on. But I do believe he possesses an education beyond the average person, and I do believe he has a career in IT. The extent of his career is debatable. It would be purely speculative, but watching some of his videos, whereas he describes the method in which malware and threat actors use to facilitate the exfiltration of sensitive data or deploy payloads, is accurate and illustrates he is present in the field. Yeah, that seems to pretty much align with everything else that we've said, everything that we've seen. Yeah, that seems like a good summation.
Basically, in the next paragraph...
Like, I wouldn't really expect him to, like the guy that I mentioned whose name I've still forgotten, apologies, I might try and find his channel and drop it down in the comments below. But he does like fire up Hydra, Gidra, whatever it is, to decompile stuff and like steps through it all. But I wouldn't imagine that Mudahar would.
DX is like, Muda probably isn't any kind of security guy or hacker or programmer, but he has some basic knowledge. I agree with this partially. I watched a few of Mudahar's videos and his explanations are mostly fine. They're very surface level to the point a non-tech person could probably explain it as well as he did if they just skimmed through Wikipedia or an article, but there's nothing egregiously wrong in the few I watched either. I don't think Mudahar knows a lot more than the average person from the way he presents info. It seems as though he just finds Reddit posts, articles, or other YouTube videos where someone who knows a thing or two explains it, then he spits back the info in a more noob-friendly way. If you watch Mudahar's tech vids, you probably didn't learn anything too bad or damaged.
Which is fine. Like, honestly, like at the end of the day, he's here to get that bread and present the information in a fun way, and he's obviously built a following doing that, and that's fine. Like that's what it boils down to, in my opinion. Like, where most of this will boil down to, even if he is faking everything, as long as he isn't providing misinformation, if he's not as skilled as he says he is, it doesn't really matter.
But if you're going to keep watching him, you should be taking a much greater grain of salt whenever he decides to talk about tech topics. The next paragraph from VX is basically them suggesting Mudahar...
Being painfully blunt, maybe he's exaggerating, I don't know. but I've met many people in my field far less educated than him with far more clout. Honestly, he could be entry-level, maybe mid-level, systems admin, working under a senior, primarily designated to password resets or installing keyboards for people. He could be entry-level or mid-level intelligence analyst, which, no disrespect to our threat intelligence homies, act as paper pushers, just collecting moving the analysis to other more skilled intelligence analysts. Yeah, that could check out. Honestly, like he does present things well from what I've seen, much better than Thor. So yeah, like Thor just has the vibe of a disgruntled junior QA employee, which happens to be exactly what he wants. So that all checks out.
Exaggerating, but it could have some kind of tech job before. This I can't agree with. For anyone who hasn't watched Nicandras's video yet,
I think I do. I think VX Underground's tweets pretty accurately summarized from what I've gathered, from what I've been exposed to so far.
It's clear to see Moodhar's only plausible tech job experience was when he was around 17 or so in 2010 to 2011. After that point, he never worked in tech again
as far as LinkedIn is concerned, and that is a big point. And as we've seen, someone has reported him to the professional engineering board. So not having your place of work on LinkedIn, like that checks out. That's fine for me.
2013, he basically went all in on his YouTube channel and film diploma. After graduating, he doubled down on YouTube and was working as a video editor. From a Facebook post Muda shared, he also states he was glad he could pursue his passion for film and not bother with programming careers anymore. Then if we fast forward to around 20, he was glad he could pursue.
After months and months of waiting, I finally received a letter from film schools I applied to and received an acceptance from all of them. Congratulations, Tim. I can pursue my goal of becoming a filmmaker instead of a blue-collar computer programmer. Fair. Generally, yeah. So, also generally there is sort of there's levels to this shit. Like, there definitely is blue-collar programming work and development work that is just literally, like Code Monkey, just type shit, just get it out there, understand the basics, that's all you need to understand. And then there is sort of like the architectural that I definitely would say would be like white collar, 100%.
Pursue his passion for film and not bother with programming careers anymore.
And like that would line up with being one of his first jobs. So, like, so that's totally believable. Like my first couple of jobs, I was both expected to perform a lot of other role functionality and was expected to be master of everything and also just be a code monkey.
Then if we fast forward to around 2019 to 2020, Moodhar states a million different jobs and things he does.
I'm a fucking editor in real life anyways, so ever since I became a video editor and that was my job in life, I work as a video editor. You know, that's my job.
By trade, what I do for a living is video editing.
Am I a fucking passionate video editor? Do I like...
But he got the qualification. That meant it's not a trade.
My job? Yes, I do. My job is video editing. I'm a video editor by trade. No, I'm video editor. You know, that's a general second profession of mine. Is day trading, swing trading, whatever you want to call it. I do a lot of calculations in my head. I lose my...
Big brain.
money, but I generally have an 80-85% success rate. And that's just the nature.
Get Warren Buffett. Get this man in contact with Warren Buffett immediately.
I invest. That's my job now. I just sort of sit home.
To be fair, I also do want to get into investing, and I've done a lot with fake balances because I totally view it the same as gambling at this point. I don't want to quote unquote get rich by either gambling or trading, but it's something that I definitely do once I am fully set up in life.
Invest money. All right. As an engineer, if I show up to my office,
F that gambler. Exactly. Although I definitely will do it at some point in my life, I do want to avoid it for now and just stick with fake balances in both my trading account and gambling online.
but outside YouTube, like when it comes to our main work property and everything, like our asset management, property development.
Also, I will absolutely sell out if I get an offer from Stake. Stake, if you can hear me, give me an offer, please, baby. I'll love you long time.
I literally just invest money. Like I buy property and I invest, and that's all I do now.
Which is fair. 100%, like that is where I want to be before I start gambling on the stock market. or in casinos.
Full-time daily upload YouTuber. He has a podcast. He sometimes live streams. He's a day trader. He does real estate investments through his company. He's also a landlord in his tenants. He's a family man with a wife and kids, and he still has enough free time to game for hours per day. Plus, he runs a skincare product company with his podcast co-hosts. Then he also has enough free time to randomly investigate other YouTubers. And finally, on top of all of that, he somehow was supposed to have enough free time in the day to have a full-time 9-to-5 office engineer tech job too somehow. I'm sorry, but no one with a brain can actually believe this. There simply aren't enough hours in a week to do all these things.
Maybe. I reckon he could squeeze it in if he was great at time management, but probably not from all of the other like snippets from calls he's jumped in on with other people that are just chatting shit. I don't think he would be able to squeeze all of that in there that well.
Both of these things require work within the same time periods of the day. Let's check over the last parts of the VX Underground tweet and see what's left.
Right. So I think this is the last one. I think it's difficult for YouTubers because they're putting themselves in such a visible spotlight. SOG is showing his face to potentially millions of people, and if he makes a mistake or mistakes, it can be nitpicked, misconstrued, or abused to attack him, which is exactly what I was saying before, like why he wouldn't have his actual professional experience up on his LinkedIn, and that's fine for me. I don't believe SOG is a malicious person. I don't believe he's a pathological liar or con artist. I think he's a big goofy dork who does things on the computer that'll inevitably attract negative attention because he's a big goofy dork and people don't like that sometimes. Yeah, like I've said to every single tweet we've seen from VX Underground, I agree. That's the vibes that I get.
About how tough being a YouTuber can be, and everyone makes mistakes. Like, I can agree everyone makes mistakes, might misspeak, and things can be nitpicked, but his engineer claims aren't nitpicks. He's been repeatedly calling himself that for over a decade.
I'm an engineer. I'm a fucking engineer. I'm a goddamn engineer. I'm an engineer. I'm a fucking engineer. I'm an engineer. I'm only an engineer. I'm an engineer. I'm an engineer. I'm just an engineer. I'm an engineer. I'm just a fucking...
Trust me, I'm a doctor.
I'm a goddamn engineer. I'm a fucking engineer. I'm an engineer. I'm an engineer. As an engineer.
Honestly, everyone is so lucky that I did not graduate as an electrical engineer because I would not shut the fuck up about being an engineer.
Being an engineer, I don't have to tell you as an engineer. I'm just a dumb engineer as an engineer. My engineer asked, but as an engineer, I'm just a fucking dumb fucking engineer. Like I can tell her, like I'm an engineer, but I'm an engineer. As an engineer, I'm an engineer. As somebody that is an engineer, as an engineer. I'm saying I'm the number one engineer as an engineer. As an engineer. All right, as an engineer, I'm just an engineer. Speaking as somebody that is an engineer, I'm an engineer. I'm an engineer.
This isn't a mistake he made 1 or 2 times. This is something he deliberately chose to talk about. And
yeah, it's like I said, I've only seen a couple of videos and he says he's an engineer all the time. So yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with it if it is actually his job title. If he's been working as a developer for a while, feel free, like if your last job title has been included engineer, say it, whatever, who gives a shit. But
build himself up for more than a decade.
He's just puffing himself up a little bit, and like I'm fine looking over that, to be honest.
So for the last paragraph from VX, I don't know if this is just a me thing, but why jump into a discussion without checking over a bit of the context and accusations first? Anyways, I see your cat pic.
Whoa, hold on. I think it's difficult for YouTubers. Oh no, that's a fine, I think. Oh wait. Maybe I'm missing something. I'm not a person who tunes into YouTube conflicts, so it's possible that I'm missing a big chunk of information. But from my perspective, it seems a necessary jab at people at SOG because they don't like that he's a big goofy dork. And let me just like hear the follow-up line from that.
A discussion without checking over a bit of the context and accusations first. Anyways,
all right, so just to address that, so why didn't they go out of their way to check out the context and address the allegations? Because they sold him something. They sold him the 36 million payload malware on a fucking USB. They probably aren't someone that gives a shit about any of this, so why would they? Like, they just had their partnership, their interaction with him was selling him some of their dump of fucking malware. Like, who cares?
I don't know if this is just a me thing, but why jump into a discussion without checking over a bit of the context and accusations first? Anyways, I see
your
pic and I raise you my...
Okay, they're both pretty cute. Not bad.
Google search cat picture. Okay, with those things...
A Google search cat picture, you absolute scoundrel, you. Now, if we just avert your eyes for a moment, this isn't going on. This will be cut out in post, don't you worry. Right back at it again.
Out of the way, what was Mudahar's response to this drama?
Start talking a little bit. I know there's been some drama, and I want to kind of address things here really quickly. So obviously, I have been calling myself a engineer, in some cases a programmer, a cybersecurity engineer, whatever you can call it. And, you know, I apparently have also been a dropout, which I don't hide. Now, obviously, me being...
Same.
Being a dropout, I don't have a degree, so I'm not a certified or licensed engineer. Now, if you feel offended, if you feel wronged,
Hold on, what is that? What is that? Let's suss the code.
you know, I
It look like a bash file,
have
bash script.
been a dropout, which I don't hide. Now, obviously, me being a dropout, I don't have a degree, so I'm not a certified or licensed engineer.
Not a professional engineer, as we've learnt they are referred to in Canada when they are professionally certified and recognized by the something or other board of engineers.
Now,
Whoop, there we go. That is a thingamawhatsit. Payload, I guess. Well, let's see if we can get any more information on it. It's SVE 2025-3243 chwoot. Update sudo chwoot. Sudo exploit. Oh shit. I remember hearing about the sudo exploits. Hang on, what year are we in? 2025. Yeah, so now. Like, I remember hearing there was something exploitable about root. Like, sorry, not root. Sudo. The sudo. Is it the sudo command? Like obviously it's sudo command, but is there an application? Like, is there a binary somewhere for fucking sudo? I don't know. And that's embarrassing to say that I don't know, but I don't know.
feel offended, if you feel wronged that I called myself an engineer while not being a degree-holding engineer, then for that I do apologize. And I will denigrate myself to, you know, I guess programmer or a fat Indian guy that knows a bit about computers. That's what I'll leave it at. And that's pretty much all I have to say. Now, again, if you want to stick around.
Yeah, that's fair. Like that's pretty much what we've been saying for the last fucking hour or so. That sums it up. Who cares? He's not acting. He's not performing as no one's life, property, or what was it? To be professionally, if your work impacts and puts at risk someone's property, their life or safety, I think it was. If his work isn't doing that, who cares?
Awesome. If you still feel wronged and this does not suffice for you, then I don't really give a fuck. Simple as that.
So basically, after a week of radio silence from him, he uploaded a 30-minute video about censorship. Within it, he spent like 1 minute being like, yeah, I'm not an engineer. I'm sorry you feel that way, and I don't care what you think about that. This engineer drama wasn't the
fair response.
But he seems to have chosen to not talk about any of the other dramas. Also, you know, I'd even call him out on using the title programmer. Maybe I'm being a bit too nitpicky, but does Mutahar ever actually code anything on his own? Most of the time in his videos, I see him copying and pasting code or scripts. He always seems to be copying stuff from an existing article or how-to guide. Like, he doesn't have to be a great programmer or anything. I'd just like to see him actually show he can do some basic coding by himself.
I would legitimately pay money to see Mutahar and Pirate Software doing a dev stream in a language neither of them have written before. Like, fuck it. Get them both to do a, 24-hour Rust fucking development live stream, and I will pay good money for that.
Respect from a junior programmer. But again, I'm probably being way too nitpicky at this point, and it probably doesn't matter too much. Anyways, from everything shown so far from Nicandros, it really doesn't seem like Mutahar does any kind of tech work. He's a tech enthusiast at best, and that seems to be the extent of things. If he has code somewhere or a GitHub or anything else, I'm willing to check over and give him a pass on the programmer title, but from the way things look currently—
Hold up. Let's see if we can find his GitHub. Like, does he have a GitHub? Oh, let me move that bad boy. All right, let's skip back a bit. Let's try and find. Actually, we'll finish the video and then we'll go and see if we can find his GitHub. I don't know if he was logged in or not.
He's basically using a few months of Nepo connection job experience from when he was a teenager as a justification to call himself a programmer or engineer today, more than 14 years later. Now, let's talk about the actual impact and fallout from Mutahar being a fake engineer. Mutahar's early YouTube success and fame came from him reading creepypastas and exploring random websites over Tor and just sharing weird things he saw. So it's not like his tech or engineering claims really mattered during the early years of his channel, and these days he's basically the bargain bin moist critical, rambling about a random—
Fair. And I think there's like a very important distinction between any kind of like software engineer, developer, architect, and like tech enthusiast. I pretty frequently be surrounded by like tech enthusiasts. I personally do not think I am a tech enthusiast. I absolutely love technology. I'm on board with a lot of it. I understand a lot of it very deeply, but I would never call myself a tech enthusiast. Those are the sorts of people that get like really hyped about the like latest graphics card release and they've got to get their greasy little mitts on it, shove everything full of RGB. I think that sums up Mr. Mutahar here, and that's fine. Motherspec speaks like he never coded a day in his life. Can you remember all the methods for the language that he's using in his head and order of parameters for those methods, etc.? For a lot of things, yeah. And if it's a standard for the language, all right, so off the top of my head, what was the last language I coded in? Probably, I mean, fuck it, we'll go with PHP because it's probably one I have most experience with. And there is a, actually, hang on. I was about to say there is a find in an array function that's built in PHP as a PHP 8, and the order of the parameters is haystack then needle. But I don't remember what the fucking function's called, which just fucking counteracts my entire point. I think it's array find. Let's check. I'm pretty sure it's haystack needle. PHP array find. No, it is not. Hang on, what the fuck? Oh yeah. Callback, not needle. So I mean, yeah, like, I mean, it's not finding the needle. It's then a callback function, but still, that was pretty much haystack needle. Just it takes in a function, not a string. So I'm not too far off.
Topic for 20 to 30 minutes per day. So does the fact he's a fake engineer matter? Not really. No, it's kind of sad and pathetic to lie and pretend in front of a teenage audience to feel cool, but there isn't a whole lot of damage done to anyone. Now, a lot of people are calling this a nothing burger drama. While I can agree the engineer stuff isn't
it really kind of is a nothing burger drama, to be honest. Like, when it all boils down to the fundamentals, the important bits, like I said before, he's not performing as an engineer where anyone's life's at risk. It's a nothing burger.
Issue, I find it incredibly odd that the collective internet, myself included,
and I'm very, very happy to shit on pirate software,
completely rate pirate software over the coals, while a huge SWAT are giving Mudahar a complete pass for basically aligning the exact same way.
We have seen one of them do more programming, and it's not the one with software in his name.
While I don't think this is a big enough drama yet to toss away Mudahar, I do think this should have gotten more pushback from his audience, especially when you consider this is exactly the kind of drama and think he himself would rip someone apart for over 2 to 3 videos. Yet because he's the one in the hot seat, all of a sudden it doesn't matter at all, and he doesn't care in the slightest. Also, this drama isn't ending here. Some other YouTubers have also started going through other dramas Mudahar was involved.
Just to address that point, Mr. Shkabo TM, you can call yourself an engineer after years of working in the field when you get enough experience. So for this stream, I haven't streamed for a while and I had 0 viewers for most of it, but I've said exactly that. So me personally, I have about 10 years and I'm pretty young. I got my first job when I was 16, 17, been working as a developer pretty much since. My last position had the word engineer in it. My next position probably will, even though I'm also in a country that has that protection for the title engineer. I'm not an engineer. I studied electrical engineering. I dropped out and I work as a software developer and I've got about 10, 11 years of experience in it at this point. But I wouldn't call myself an engineer. I would say maybe software engineer if I'm trying to like apply for jobs and stuff. But generally in casual conversation, I'd say like a programmer, developer, just because it rolls off the tongue a bit better. And shit like DevOps engineer is just silly. But
with a much finer comb now. One YouTuber called Accounting on YouTube has basically done his own research into the completionist charity drama and has determined Mudahar was in over his head and made a lot of mistakes. Some YouTubers are looking into the Mama Max drama and claims now too, and Nicandra's video that started all of this was just a small teaser. Apparently later this month he's going to be releasing a massive video truly exposing Mudahar. I have no clue what's going to be in it, so we're all gonna have to wait and see what he drops before he can fully wrap up this drama one way or another. Anyways, that's all I got for you guys and gals for the time being. If you like what you saw, like, subscribe, and share the vid, and I am out.
Yeah, that was pretty good. So this was what I was expecting the first video to be. I'm just going to drop that in chat both so I can find it and anyone who'd be interested can go and watch it themselves. I'm going to take 5, 10, 15 maybe, go have a cigarette, get some water, etc, etc. And then might jump straight into pirate software, who, as I said, I will always enjoy shitting on just because he's the epitome of like first year QA intern energy. On the other hand, there are people with 10 plus years experience that can't be called an engineer though. That is also very true. Speak of pirate software. But anyway, BRB, see you all in a bit. I might not come back, so if you've swung in